All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Friday. Happy Friday to everyone out there. February 23rd. We got a 10 game, I believe, NBA slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, we're going to go through each and every one of these games. I'm going to give you my lean on the spread. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about any player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, all of my final plays, so what I'm actually rolling with myself, those will be updated in the pinned comment. If you do want to fade me and do the opposite of those picks, they're there for you to see. In terms of last night, definitely not a fadeable night. Now, this looks like it's a 3-3 night, and you're like, oh, 3-3, whatever, right? But if you look at our unit plays and the odds that we capitalized on there, it was a very profitable night. 1.98 units in profit. We had the Knicks money line, that was for plus money, and then Jonas Valanciunas here over 11.5 points was our biggest play, 2-unit play. Take the cash there as well. And then Kristaps Porzingis over 1.5 3-pointers made. That cashes. Our losses is kind of where we damage controlled there. Like, our 3 losses were all half-unit losses. The Nets money line and Nets plus 4.5. You might as well call that one red X because we just split a unit within that game. And then the same game parlay for big odds did not come through either. So we'll take the profit, even though it's a 50% win-loss type of a night. The profit is there because of where we allocated our resources, I guess, which is good. And I always get the question, what is a unit? The easiest way for me to explain it is a unit is your standard size of bet. So if you're a $10 bettor, when you and your buddies are like, hey, let's bet on this, and you're like, okay, let's take this team money line, whatever that number you kind of instinctively and traditionally put in is your unit. A half unit would be half of that. 2 units would be, I'm doubling up on it, X, Y, and Z. So I mean, there's many ways to explain it. Like a lot of people say, if you have a $1,000 bankroll, 1 to 2% is a unit. But I think the easiest dumb, and I'm a dumb way of saying it is, what is your standard unit of measurement when you place a bet personally? So it's kind of like the universal term, so it doesn't matter how much you're betting on it because your unit and someone else's unit can be 2 different sizes, but it's all about how you use it, right? But guys, we got some better news than me making some profit last night. The ride of the day coming through, and Picked It just tied the damn record with his 5th straight W. Here at the ride of the day, he had Paul Reed under 8.5 board. That cashes. And if you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, all you have to do is use the hashtag ride of the day in the comments. And I'm jumping on board with one person's pick in the comments, giving you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. I also give you a shout out over on my Twitter at EvGuyBoston. If you guys do want to follow me there, it'll be kind of popping up throughout the video here. Make sure to go ahead and follow me back. Actually, today I'll follow everyone back that has followed me today. And if you followed me in the past, say yesterday, the day before, whatever, just tweet at me being like, where's my follow back? And I got you today. But go check me out over on Twitter as well. That's where we're shouting out the ride of the day. But the new twist in the last, I would say, 3 months that we put with the ride of the day is that when someone gets their ride of the day right and they cash, we jump on board with them again and we continue to ride with them until the wheels fall off. Picked It now has 5 dubs in a row. Can he break the record tonight? We shall see. But without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and jump into game number 1 on today's slate. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well. I'm so excited for this slate. I'm so excited for being back in the NBA. Picked It could break the record. Just good vibes overall, right? But let's jump into it. We got the Hawks taking on the Raptors here. So far this season, they've met 3 times. Toronto has covered in 2 of those 3. The Hawks have won in 2 of those 3. Right now, Hawks sitting at 7-point favorites, total at 245. I'll jump right out and say the total doesn't really, tempt me in this one. I don't really love the total whatsoever. It doesn't get it going for me. I would lean towards the over just because both these teams, their transition defense are terrible, and the Hawks want to push it. And you have Toronto on a back-to-back. When they're on back-to-backs, the over has hit in 60% of their games this year. So take that for what it's worth, right? But my main play, and this is probably going to be looking at the Hawks, honestly. Now, do I trust the Hawks? No, this isn't a team that I love to bet on. I think even, a few weeks back, we were like, I think they're kind of turning the corner. Turner not corned. Corner not turned, right? The Hawks may just be this. They're better than they were at the beginning of the year in terms of against the spread, but they may just be this for now. So it's not the most confident play I can give, but there's some good reasoning, rationale as to why I like the Hawks in this spot. They're awesome when they have a rest advantage over their opponent, and talk about the rest advantage they have now, right? Toronto comes in, they're on a back-to-back, and Atlanta has had this long break in which they've covered 75% of their games when they have a rest advantage over their opponent. Toronto covered in just 30%, so 70% of their games they've played played this year on back-to-backs, they have not covered in. So yes, it's kind of a big number at that 7 mark. Their spreads earlier this year were 2.5, 1.5, and then 6. So this is the biggest spread that we've seen so far, but give me the Hawks in this spot. In terms of a player prop, I would love to say that, because I think this is a fast-paced game and transition game, that there's things that I like, but I don't really like any player props in this spot. I could maybe be talked into, my transition guy when it comes to, the Hawks here. I like looking at Jalen Johnson, but I do think that even his numbers and his lines are getting a little bit inflated, and he hasn't had the best success against the Raptors as of late this season. Or I shouldn't say as of late, because the one game, his last game against the Raptors, he did have a really good game against them, I think 17 points. So he could be something that I consider just because of the transition, but this is probably just Hawks minus the points or pass for me in this entire game. Again, slight lean towards the over, slight consideration Jalen Johnson, but I don't mind the Hawks, even though that's a big number, which maybe I'm crazy. Have been before. All right, next up, we have the Sixers taking on the Cavs here. Both teams on a back-to-back. Sixers coming off of that loss to New York, which we were on the right side of yesterday, in Cleveland coming off of a loss to Orlando. I wish we pulled the trigger on that Cleveland one. I said if they have no Donovan Mitchell, then I'd love to look at the Magic plus the points or something like that, right? We didn't end up doing it, but nonetheless, guys, there's a bit of information, right? Donovan Mitchell it's actually funny. He's listed as questionable in some injury reports I've looked at, and then some injury reports don't even have him on it. So I'm going to assume that Donovan Mitchell plays tonight. Maybe they were saving him for this game versus last because they thought it was a more worthy opponent. I don't know. I don't really know if it was an illness or whatever it was, but like I said, some injury reports he's not on, some injury reports he is on. And we're recording this super early, so it could be left over from last night. But nonetheless, I do think that this is a decent spot for the Cavs. They're just the better team in my eyes, and they should be the better team in your eyes until Joel Embiid gets back. I do think that this is a Cavs team that obviously, we should be considering betting on and to win games especially. And when you think about it, they've been such a hot team, right? They just lost their last game, and the last time they played Philly, they lost too. So this is a revenge spot. It's a bounce back spot, and they're getting Donovan Mitchell back. It seems like a lot could go right for the Cavs tonight. Do I love the fact that they lost last time they played? No. Do I love the fact that Philly, is also in a bounce back spot? No, and they're at home, and they're both on back-to-backs. Anything can happen, but I like the Cavs minus the points in this spot. But what I like probably more than even taking a side here may be considering the under. Both these teams, when on no-rest situations, have not really covered the over, so they've been under teams, and they've been just like under teams, like, I guess you could say overall, Cleveland has been an under team this year, and then Philly without Embiid really doesn't play with this extreme pace or anything like that. So 228, I don't mind it. Both games last night, so Cleveland versus Orlando would have been under this line, and then same thing with Philly and the Knicks. So neither one of their last games coming off the break were like, whoa, look at that speed coming out of the break. No. Now, do you say, okay, well, it's back-to-backs, the defense is going to lack, blah, blah, blah. Sure, maybe, but I'll still take the under. In terms of player props, like I said, we are up early doing this. Really not many player props out there right now. It's an inflated line, and I don't think that I look towards it, but I don't mind looking at Donovan Mitchell here over in points. Last time they played in that game, a couple weeks back, he dropped 36 points, and this is a Sixers team that just can't really seem to cover where he can score from, right? At the rim, in the mid-range, and then above the break threes. Like, talk about a Donovan Mitchell dream scenario, right? So I do think that he could score a lot, but again, it is an inflated line just based on how good he is, like 27.5. And I guess I shouldn't say inflated. I probably should be more clear, and it's just not inflated. It's just like it's a big line, right? It's a high line, but it is the spot that I'm looking at. I'd also consider potentially maybe Jarrett Allen, looking at something for him, but I don't see any lines out for Allen right now. But I don't really see how Nicholas Batum and Paul Reed can stop him, and potentially even Evan Mobley. Like, I like the in the paint scoring here for the Cavs tonight as well, but we don't have lines available for those. So I'll list where I get the best odds and the line if any of those become final plays in the pinned comment for you guys. All right, we were just talking about player props. Guys, there is a new app, and I guess we shouldn't even say new anymore, but it may be new to you, Chalkboard. If you guys have not tried out Chalkboard yet and it's legal in your state, go ahead and do so. I always tell you guys, I like pretty much 3 main apps right now. Chalkboard is one of them, and they are making so many improvements to their site, to their app, to their capabilities. It's unbelievable. One, just like all the other DFS pick'em apps out there, you can combine 2 or more player props in a slip. The more you win, the more you get paid out, right? But what they have is alternate lines. Okay, there's already a plus in their column. You can select alternate lines, and what they just launched yesterday are shield plays, aka protected picks, flex plays, insurance plays, meaning you don't have to get every single pick right in the slip, and you can still get paid out a percentage. Go check it out, guys. I'll have a link in the pinned comment. You get your first deposit matched or download using code GUYBOSTON. I believe it's on iOS right now, so the Apple Store. But guys, go check it out. If it's legal in your state, you got the iPhone, go check out Chalkboard, use code GUYBOSTON, or just simply use the download link in the pinned comment. Go take advantage of these shield plays, go take advantage of the alternate lines, and they throw out so many damn promos, it's totally worth checking out. So go ahead and check that out, guys. That link is going to be in the pinned comment. All right, back to the NBA slate. All right, we got Houston taking on the Suns here. Again, the Suns on a back-to-back. That is definitely worth noting. There's a bunch of back-to-back situations tonight because a damn near everyone played yesterday. But just keep that in mind here. Phoenix coming off of a loss to Dallas. Another one in which we gave out in the video, but I didn't make a final play. But nonetheless, that's the way it is. Going up against Houston, who kind of, they're also on a back-to-back. What am I saying? Against New Orleans last night, they got smoked. And they're just on, I would definitely consider this a downturn. That being said, this is a Houston team that I continue to say, and I know I sound like a broken record, but I never know if new people are watching this. This is a Houston team that is terrible on the road, halfway decent at home. They're at home today, so it is definitely something, I guess you could say, worth considering. But I would say that Phoenix is still the play here. You're going to want to keep an eye on Bradley Beal's injury report because he is still a game-time decision. Didn't play last night. We'll see if he gets the go today. But this is just a Phoenix team that I think can overpower this Houston team overall. I don't think that they're really similar teams. They've played one time this year, and Phoenix won 129 to 113. I would imagine, and that was when Houston was also home in that game. So I just think the talent discrepancy here is pretty damn big, and you don't have a big line. Now, the one thing I'll say is that line kind of smells trappy, because I would assume with both teams being on a back-to-back, Phoenix being the better and more talented team, I would assume this would be kind of like that Hawks and Toronto line, 6-7 points, something like that. So 4, yeah, maybe we could be scared by that, but scared money don't make money, right? FadeMe.store. We still have the promo code up from yesterday, which is 20% off with code BACK, B-A-C-K. Go pick up some merch, FadeMe.store. But yeah, scared money don't make money. I'm not going to be afraid of that line if we do make it a final play. That's definitely got a chance to be there. In terms of the total, 233.5. Though both these teams are playing with some serious pace as of late. This is a Phoenix team, 3rd fastest team in terms of pace last 10 games. Houston, top 7, so 7th ranked team in terms of pace last 10 games. I don't really see the transition game kind of clicking here for either team. And if you don't have the transition game clicking, it ends up being a pretty hard time hitting overs, right? So this line being where it is, I like the under, even though I know these teams are going to play fast. I just don't think the matchup is there for some transition. So I'm going to lean towards the under in this spot, 233.5. Now, from a player prop perspective, this is an interesting one because I am looking at an under, and the guy's an absolute stud, right? I don't mind taking a peek at Kevin Durant's under 2.5 3-pointers made. He can obviously hit that in one quarter if he wants to or tries to, because he's that good. But this is a Houston team that, especially at home, can cover the perimeter fairly well, but they stink at covering the in the paint and even the mid-range jump shot to some degree. I would more so, rest my hat on the in the paint scoring. And Kevin Durant, if he doesn't need to shoot the threes, he won't, right? I think he's going to try and get to the paint. I also don't mind taking a peek at something similar for D-Book, just for, again, the same exact reasons. I think these guys are going to be able to get to their spots, and they're not going to have to rely on above the break, corner threes, or anything like that. So definitely a chance for both of those guys under 2.5 threes to be in the final play. And that's not even saying like anything negative about those guys. I'm almost saying yeah, they might be able to just score their points elsewhere. Durant's total is 27.5, something like that, 28.5. I don't even mind that. So it's not that I think they're gonna have a bad night. I don't think either of these guys are gonna need to rely on the tray ball. Okay, if that makes sense. All right, Memphis taking on the Clippers. Transparently, this isn't my favorite game on today's NBA slate. Doesn't look like we're going to have any injuries for the Clippers, which is good to note because they are on the back-to-back. Yesterday's game, they didn't really show up against OKC. OKC beats them by 20-plus points there. Paul George, 14 points. Harden with 17 and 6. Kawhi Leonard with 20. Like, no one, went off truly, I guess you could say. Memphis is coming here with a massive rest advantage, but they haven't capitalized on their rest advantage games this year against the spread. So only 45% of the games, so 55% of their games they have not covered against the spread when they have a rest advantage. And you have the Clippers coming in here with a 63% back-to-back cover rate. So they do show up on back-to-backs. They are definitely a team that you'd think that team does not show up on back-to-backs because they have the veterans and an older team, right? But they do, so definitely worth noting there. When they're on the road, they cover 54% of their games as well. The only problem here is, and why I say it's not because it should be a slam dunk Clippers win, right? 8.5 points just seems like it's a little bit too much here. I don't totally love this spot. So I like the Clippers, but I don't know if this becomes a final play, even though Memphis is such a right now bottom of the barrel team and the Clippers are kind of towards the top of the league. It still isn't a sexy spot to me. In terms of the total, I could see maybe taking a peek at Clippers team total. I do think that they still have some offense in the tank after what we saw last night, them not even getting to the 110 mark. And in terms of what we can look at for their team total right now, it's like 115.5, something like that. I think they get to 116 today. I wouldn't mind taking a peek at a potential over here just overall, but the reason I gravitated immediately towards the Clippers team total is because I don't know if I can get behind this Memphis offense. Now, they went into the break scoring 121 against Houston and then beating Milwaukee with 113. So it's like, oh yeah, maybe they can give you like 110 plus. I just don't know if I fully trust it, right? Especially against a Clippers team that can slow it down if they want to. And that could kind of hurt this overall total. So I like the Clippers team total, I believe. So if anything total in this game, it probably ends up actually being that spot there. In terms of player props, I still don't mind taking a peek at Vince Williams Jr.'s over PRA. It's at 23.5 right now. The dude's going to get the run. He's going to get the playing time. I don't love the matchup. I can be completely honest with you guys there. But again, he's going to get the run. He's going to get the playing time. If we jump into Outlier, guys, and by the way, I have a link for Outlier in the pinned comment. With that link, you get 7 days free. Even after those 7 days, Outlier is $19.99 a month for everything that you're seeing in this walkthrough, and that's a very manageable price point for the tool that you're getting. You get all of these tabs. These are honestly the premium service, and these are well worth it as well. But what you see here, insights, popular, games, props, all stuff that you can get with that link in the pinned comment for 7 days. But look at this. Vince has just crushed this in 9 straight games. I shouldn't say crushed it, but he's crushed his line in 9 straight games. This is the game that we had him over 23.5 PRA. He had 37 before the break. You can see on the season, he just started to really get it going, but look at where the minutes are too. The minutes have just started to get going. Playing in a true shooting guard position, it is a spot where, relatively speaking, so you see the Clippers defense here, right? They're really good overall points, rebounds, and assists. You go to the shooting guard, look at that. Like, they actually do. Yes, it's still yellow. It's not green, but they do end up dropping kind of more towards the middle of the pack. Now, does he get the start at the shooting guard? He gets the start at the shooting guard. He'll play some small forward minutes if Conchar goes out. So, that's worth considering. He's not going to play his entire game at the 2. But I don't mind, the fact that the Clippers may be a little soft in that area. But I kind of already told you guys, right? It's not really it's not really a matchup that I love. I'm just saying it could be more favorable for him than others on the Grizzlies. So definitely a player prop that I consider over 23.5 PRA there. But keep an eye on the pinned comment because, again, you're betting on a Grizzlies player against the Clippers. There could be blowout. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, he'll probably get the minutes even in a blowout because of how banged up that Grizzlies team is. All right, OKC taking on Washington. Honestly, not a game that I want to spend too much time on here. I don't like laying the points 15 with OKC, but it's probably the side to be on. I don't think Washington is a trustworthy team, like I've said, and it really shouldn't be shocking to anyone, right? Coming off of, what was it, a 20-point loss against Denver last night. OKC, again, had a good game last night. Maybe they carry that momentum into tonight. In terms of a total 241, this is where I probably could get behind and over, but it's going to take a lot more, confirmation as I go through my bets throughout the day to pull the trigger on the over, because this OKC team like hasn't needed to score a bunch to get wins as of late. Now they are on a back-to-back, and on back-to-backs they've covered the over, so hit the over in 75% of the games. I don't mind seeing that. Washington, on the other hand, though, and they're part of this back-to-back game, have only hit the over in 11% of games, so they definitely slow down in terms of their side of things. So maybe it's another spot where we look at OKC team total or something like that, but it's not my favorite game on the board, and I don't envision anything really, you know, kind of tangible coming out of this game, especially not any player props. Next up, we got the Pelicans taking on the Heat. Pelicans here on a back-to-back. Though I wouldn't say it's like the hardest of back-to-back, they still were able to keep some of their guys playing some, you know, minutes. Like CJ McCollum, I think, stayed just around 30. Zion played a bunch. Jonas Valanciunas only played 27. I think, you know, a couple of the guys did play their normal minute allotment, but nonetheless, it was kind of a stress-free win yesterday against Houston is more so what I am getting at here. Miami headed into the break with a win over Philly. Actually, 2 straight wins over Milwaukee and then Philly heading into the break. From an injury perspective here, for both teams, I lost the injury report up in front of me. For both teams, there's a couple injuries to note here. Tyler Hero, game time decision, as well as Brandon Ingram. And I think Terry Rozier and Richardson are still out for Miami. So definitely, you know, Tyler Hero and Ingram are going to be huge factors in this game. But I'm going to lean towards the Pelicans just because they are at home here. They also have covered plenty on back-to-backs this year. 63% of the games they've covered on. Miami hasn't really been a great rest advantage team. Just 45% of the games they've covered on. So I think that's kind of fair and worth noting. I'll also take a peek at the under, just because you have two teams that are going to play very similar basketball, right? Like punch it in the mouth, slow down, half-court basketball. Let's get into the paint and score. So I don't mind taking a peek at the under. In terms of player props, I kind of like Zion Williamson. Again, I gave you guys that yesterday, didn't pull the trigger on it, which seems like it's a theme, right? A lot of the info and plays that I'm giving on the video, they didn't reach the confidence level of final play, right? And then boom, blows up in our face because we had a damn good leans night yesterday. We had a profitable final plays night, so I can't cry over profit, but you know what I mean. But if we jump back into outlier, you can see 2 straight games in which he's gone over. Now, Brandon Ingram is a game time decision here, right? On the season, Zion Williamson's hit this in 42% of games, which doesn't look all that great. Without Brandon Ingram, let's see what he does. Without Brandon Ingram, he hit it last game. He struggles there, so maybe even Brandon Ingram playing is a good spot, but let's get this out of there. This is what I want to note here. So in his last 5 games here, look at the free throws, right? 10, 7, 7, 9. Last game, they didn't really need him to get to the line. He had 4. If we zoom this out to, you know, the last 20 or so, date back here, he's only looking at 5, 6, 4, 3, 3. Like, yes, he has some of these peak games at the free throw line, but if Zion can get in the paint and get to the free throw line for this in this game, I do think that it's going to be obviously a major boost to his over in points. And this is a spot in which, you know, Miami, not a big fouling team, but the Pelicans can get to the line when they want to. They definitely get to the line more than Miami. So I do think if this comes down to some free throw battles, 1, it benefits the hell out of Zion. 2, it's going to benefit the hell out of that spread. It doesn't help the under because free throws with no time running off are points. But nonetheless, guys, I do think this could be another good Zion day. The only concern is that does Zion dog it on a back-to-back? You know, like that's more of a narrative, I guess. I don't know if we actually would say that Zion definitely does that, but I do think that is something that could potentially be worth considering, right? Because just the way that he kind of has that built into people's mindset about him. But nonetheless, guys, I still do want to trust him in this spot. I think his last back-to-back he played, I'm trying to find it right now, but I had it before we started recording. He did go for like 28 in his most previous back-to-back, so maybe that's worth considering there. All right, Golden State hosting Charlotte. Golden State 13-point favorites, total sitting at 228. I got a great comment, so I gave Charlotte yesterday in the video, right? And then someone in the comments, I wish all hate comments were like this from the Guppies. The dude or dudette was like, "You are an absolute hooligan for thinking that Charlotte is going to win that game." They won, so I can pat myself on the back, but being called a hooligan for an opinion was awesome. So drop hooligan in the comments if you guys are watching and made it this far in the video, because that is a word that I could easily see start becoming like a part of the channel, because what a good like insult, right? I was almost like, damn, that like got me more than if someone's like, "You're a effing loser, man." Like hooligan. I was like, what do you mean? Damn it. But nonetheless, guys, this game here, we have Golden State. They're just too big of favorites in this spot for me. I don't mind, Charlotte again. It's just like yesterday. I'm going to lean towards them. I don't have the cojones to pull the trigger on Charlotte because I still can't fully trust them. But I mean, maybe they go on a run here. Like, this is a team that's won 4 straight games. They've covered in 4 straight games. And the covering is the less impressive because they've been underdogs in all of those games. 5.5 points against Memphis, 10.5 points against Indiana, 7 against Atlanta, 9.5 last night against Utah. Dub. 4 wins in a row for this Charlotte team. So don't look now. We have a new NBA Finals contender, if they're not already mathematically eliminated. In terms of a total here, I'm going to lean towards the over. I think that the back-to-back here is going to kind of lean towards just a bunch of points being scored. I don't think that there's many, defensive possessions going to be, capitalized on in this game already between these two teams, especially on the Charlotte end. So I could see some points being scored. Both teams on a back-to-back, like I said. And I do declare, I think LaMelo could be back, if I'm not mistaken. I think I saw that on Twitter last night. Whether he is or isn't, that would, either way, it would help Charlotte plus the points. And I do think that he could up the tempo. So definitely worth considering there. But again, any of this, it's such a wild card. It's easy for me to jump on a video and say I lean towards Charlotte and not put my bread on it, right? So it's kind of where I'm at. Like, this is a lean, and I want to be transparent about that. In terms of player props here, based on how I'm talking about it, you probably already can tell, like, this isn't, a spot in which I really love it, but I don't mind taking a peek at Jonathan Kuminga's over 2.5 assists. This is a Charlotte team that allows plenty of assists, 3rd most on the season. He's hit this in 3 straight games. He had 3 last night, and I do think that it's a team that, Charlotte, they're so almost, I don't want to say so bad defensively, but they're such a defensively sound team that if a guy gets in the paint, which Kuminga does, they might just go 5 people collapsing on him, right? Which should lead out to a kick out or whatnot for a 3. That's kind of my thought process, and it's more of a game feel than really the data suggests it. But again, he has hit it in 8 of his last 10. All right, similar to the Thunder and the Washington game, this isn't a game that really piques my interest. And you might be thinking, whoa, why not? Like, Denver's only 9-point favorites against Portland. But it's a spot in which, again, I always tell you guys, Denver on the road. They played at home last night. Denver on the road is already a team that doesn't really entice me anyways. But Portland, like, I'm not going to bet Portland against Denver either, right? So immediately I'm kind of like, pump the brakes here. This isn't, there's plenty of games and plenty of spots on today's slate. You don't need to dig deep in this one here. So I would lean Denver, but I don't think it becomes a final play. And I know a lot of people give me crap in the comments like, oh, why are you even giving a pick if it's not going to be a final play? Because I love talking about basketball, love giving my opinion on basketball. It's what the channel is based on. I'm transparent about it. If you don't like that, I'm like, not really confident about this one, then go watch someone that fakes confidence for content, right? It's not going to happen with me. It's not my favorite spot. I would still lean towards Denver. In terms of a total here, 219.5. I guess I would look at the over just because it's a low number, and both these teams really aren't all that great when it comes to transition defense. So if at any point this has like a 10-minute span where transition is kind of going, it can almost put this to bed early because it is a low number. If this is like 225.5, I'd be like, I'm probably just sticking away from it all the same. But 219.5 can definitely kind of get broken in like the second quarter, right? Unless things slow down super slow in the end of the game. But nonetheless, guys, again, it's not my favorite game overall. No player props that I'm loving either. All right, we got Minnesota hosting Milwaukee here. We saw this game, about 2 weeks ago here. It was in Milwaukee, but Minnesota just pantsed Milwaukee, and Milwaukee was embarrassed as to what they had to show, okay? That game was a 129-105 game, and I think this Minnesota team, I shouldn't say I think. It's kind of a fact that they're playing better basketball as of right now. And they're at home here. I'm going to lean towards them. Milwaukee and Minnesota both coming off of the break, so maybe something happened to Milwaukee. This is where those games, like, you don't really want to act like that trend before the All-Star break matters all that much. You don't want to ignore it because, like I said in yesterday's video, you could still take that momentum. Like, that's all that those guys are thinking about. But I guess what I'm saying here is the break could do something to Milwaukee, right? They're such a good team personnel-wise, and I guess Giannis and Damian like is what I mean, that a break like this could be a reset button and they could click. And I've been saying all year long, like, I'm waiting for that next shoe to drop and Milwaukee starts to make a push. They really haven't been, but that's almost the only thing I'm afraid of in this spot, because if I match these teams up, I think that, you have a Minnesota team who is more defensively efficient. They're more offensively efficient. They should own the offensive rebounds here. They should get to the line more, right? So I'm gonna lay the points with Minnesota at home. Total at 225.5. I like the under in this spot as well. We saw Minnesota's defense and how they matched up against Milwaukee again when they last played, which was 105-point performance from Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee's defense kind of brings it a little bit more today and doesn't let Minnesota score 129. And Minnesota on the year here when it comes to their offense, they're averaging a 114 point per game rate this year. So they 10 plus their point total in that game, 15 more points than they normally score. I don't think Milwaukee defensively lacks as much as they did in that game. Now I got a couple player props that I like in this spot. We'll start it off with Brook Lopez over 1.5 3-pointers made. You guys know I love this guy for this stat. Now he has totally been on the downturn when he was just cashing this over and over and over again. He still has hit it in his last 8 games here. He has hit it in 6 of his last 8. So, okay, there's fine. I hope that the quantity is there. Like last game, he took 9 threes. Only made 2 of them, but he took 9. So I like the volume. And also this is going to be true for both these players. I also like Malik Beasley over 2.5 threes because the volume's there. He took 10 in the last game. And, this guy, he's a 40% shooter. I guess you could say 40% shooter overall, right, on the year. 40 plus, if I'm not mistaken, like 42. If he's going to take double digits or even 9 threes, he should be able to make 3 of them. The thought process behind both of these is, why would you want to go in the paint against Minnesota, right? Why would you decide that that's going to be the move? Like, let me try and take it into the Twin Towers here. So I think that there's going to be some threes available to be taken for these teams. Is Damian Lillard going to take them all? Maybe he could. That's kind of the one guy that would be above the break threes numbers that we're passing up on in terms of frequency. But I like Beasley and Brook Lopez. One of those guys, maybe both, could be a final play. Keep an eye on the pinned comment. All right, Lakers taking on the Spurs. LeBron James is a game-time decision. Actually, that even reminds me, I should have said, I didn't say it about the last game. Giannis is a game-time decision, so that's obviously a massive factor for their team. We didn't even mention him, and Minnesota, I love them even more if Giannis isn't plays. No kidding, right? I think he's likely to play, like probable, so we'll see. But nonetheless, talking about this game, the Lakers, LeBron James is a game-time decision. I do think that, this is a team that... or the Spurs, in which when they get these big numbers, like to some degree, I feel like they can cover them. AK last night, that was a game in which the Kings were 10-point favorites, and the Spurs lose, but they cover that 10 points. The Lakers lose to the Warriors, but I just don't know if the Spurs do it back to back. You know what I mean? Like if this was a one-off game and they had rest and everything like that, I do think that I would probably lean towards Spurs plus 10, but there's a reason why Vegas came in with this line and where it is. So I'm going to lean towards the Lakers here, minus the 10 points. It hasn't budged yet. It hasn't moved from 10 in a while. I think it even opened up at like 8.5, and it's only moved to 10 and hasn't deferred from since. So yeah, I'm kind of line reading here, trusting what the books are doing. Lakers minus the points. In terms of the total, 239 just seems a bit high for me, but with the Spurs being on a back-to-back, they're probably going to play even less and less defense, and the Lakers on a back-to-back as well, and we've seen so many overs when the Lakers are on back-to-back, so it's a high number, but go ahead, give me the over here. In terms of player props, still waiting on a bunch to come out here, just because obviously we're waiting on LeBron and anything like that. But one spot I could see happening, and we just talked about this stat, would be LeBron James over 1.5 3-pointers made. Does he need to take threes to beat this Spurs team? No, but he's hit this line in 68% of games this year. You're looking at it at minus 120 over on DraftKings. I think LeBron James could easily hit 2 threes in this spot. This is a Spurs team that allows plenty of threes on the season as well. But guys, it's going to wrap for today. Hope you guys did enjoy. I'm so glad to be back. Everyone enjoy your Friday. Happy betting, and we'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.